Hello everybody, my name is Will and welcome back to Sprocket. Today we're going to be building a massive, super heavy German tank. In the end, this thing I think ends up being 178 tons, which is actually 10 tons lighter than the mouse. But I base this more off the E-100, which I believe is slightly lighter than that. If I remember rightly, I think the E-100, at least in speculative terms, was about 140 tons. And I base the length and the width off that. But yeah, this is going to be an incredibly well-armored, incredibly well-gunned tank with probably not that much mobility, to be entirely honest, using all of the pinnacles of technology that World War II could provide to any tank designer. Ultimately, it's going to be one of them things that really is better on paper than it ever would be in combat, but here, we don't have to worry about things like aircraft and practicality and ground pressure, and we can simply design whatever the hell we want for now. God knows what features we'll be getting in the future. But yeah, this is going to be one of the larger tanks that I've designed on this channel. I have previously designed a Japanese super heavy tank that was 250 tons, I believe. So there have been bigger, but I would like to think that this is a much improved design to when I built that Japanese tank. I use it in this video as a bit of a comparison for this thing, and I think my building skills have improved quite a lot since then, so hopefully you agree and you enjoy this one. For those of you who do skip past the time lapses, by the way, check the timestamps in the description or use the scrubber. It should be chaptered, because I put in like the battle types and what we're doing and where the building is, so you can just skip straight ahead to the bit that I'm gonna actually be done with the build and fighting the thing. Those of you who like to stay, I know that you're currently leaving the comment who would skip the building segments. Those are my favorite parts of the video, because that's always what happens whenever I mention that people skip ahead for that part. But I've got the YouTube analytics and I can tell you for sure people skip the talking segments. I mean, it could be my voice. It could be the fact that I laugh a lot. Call me the Kamala Harris of YouTube videos is all I'm saying. That is an incredibly badly dated joke already, and that's going to just date even worse. Anyway, I probably shouldn't have said that, but here we are. It's been 2 weeks since the last Sprocket video, and now that it's realistically about 40% of the channel who are a little bit more dedicated to it than usual, I will give you the vague reason why, which is effectively what you could probably guess. I could not be bothered, frankly, to make a video. And that's kind of been the case for the last few months. Just doing what I want when I want. It's really not worth me pressuring myself to make these videos quicker than I want to, because the product that I produce is simply not as good. So hopefully you agree with me that the best case scenario for yourself and myself is I keep myself happy by just uploading what I want, and you get better videos out of it as a deal. So there you go. What might help me, though, if you do want to see more videos, is if you subscribe. Seeing big number go up definitely helps. And I think I said at the start of the year I want to hit 45,000 by the end of the year as like a goal. And we're still a good way away from that. We're not at 40,000 yet. So that's quite a chunky goal, really. So if you feel like hitting that subscribe button, then you can. Also, I was wearing today a jumper with the drawing that Specs did of Patch driving a tank with the font text with the words tanks written underneath in bold font. So if that's something that tickles your fancy, then that is also available. You can see it through the products page on my YouTube channel. I really don't get much about it, and 50% of the proceeds will be going to my friend who drew the art. It is obviously the best art in the universe. Do not criticize it, whatever you do. And yeah, I mean, that's available. I'm just reminded because I've got the jumper right next to me. I just took it off like 10 minutes ago. It's fairly warm here in the UK. We had a bit of a nice spell in the middle of the summer, then it got really rainy, and then it got nice again. I should probably actually talk about the tank rather than talk about the weather, though I am British, so it does make sense that I'm talking about the weather while trying to make a video about tanks. Let's focus on the tank a little bit more, because a lot of the techniques that I use in this thing are very, very common techniques that I use a lot. Now, a lot of people have expressed interest in doing, in me doing a tutorial that they can follow and kind of get some basic tips and tricks that you can use to build. A lot of people ask, how do I build a tank? That is not something that I can teach you. I can't teach how to build a tank. Ultimately, how you want to build a tank is up to you. You can build a hyper-realistic tank, you can build a crazy tank, you can build whatever you want. What I can do is I can make little snippet tutorials of how to do specific things. I can do how to make a cylinder really, really quickly, how to make a cupola fairly easily, how to make this sub-component for a tank that's going to be useful on a variety of builds. That's the kind of stuff that I would do if I could do it, and at some point it may well be worth me doing that. Previously, I've done some tutorials in YouTube Shorts, so if people don't hate that format, that might be a good idea. They're just a little bit easier to upload, a little bit more, I guess, suitable for the length of video that the tutorial needs to be. I'm not pressured to push out like a full 10-minute video just to get that ad revenue on something that can only be a minute long anyway. So it's like, if that works for people, then that might be the way to go. Also, frankly, one of the shorts did very, very well and really, I think, gained the channel quite a bit of traction. I would be shocked if there weren't at least a couple of you guys watching right now who found me through the Oscillating Turrets YouTube short that did the rounds for a while. My phone, and I'm sure I've said this before, but my phone for a very, very long time, whenever I went into any free text field on the internet, would suggest that I type in the words Sprocket tank design, just in any field, because the amount of people I had asking what is this game on that YouTube short was incredible. So there you go. Hamish, you at least owe me a beer for that one. So there you go. For legal reasons, this is a joke. Hamish, you genuinely owe me nothing. If it wasn't for your game, my YouTube channel would not exist. Please do not sue me. Also, speaking about Hamish, can we just appreciate that Sprocket has come this far and we are so close to seeing this update basically going to our live branch? A lot of people obviously are still using 0.127, which was the version pre-geometric internals, but a lot of people have now moved over. And I know quite a number of people are concerned that the builder is a little bit more difficult to use. I think that's mostly people getting used to the old builder and then migrating over to something new. As somebody who's been using it for a while, I do find this an easier editor than the older one, because there's a lot of little tricks that you can use in this new editor and shortcuts that weren't available before, but it is a little bit less, I guess, intuitive. Yeah, ultimately that's something that maybe I could assist with some tutorials. And I will be honest here, and I think I can probably say this without much repercussion now. A while ago, I did promise to somebody else in the Sprocket content creation community, who I'm not going to name for the sake of if anyone is upset by this, just going after them, it's not worth it. But I believe they've stopped making videos, so I can say this without consequence. I did promise that I would not make too many tutorials on Sprocket, because they were making them, and ultimately it wasn't something that I was hugely interested in doing in the first place. Tutorial creation has never really been my favorite thing to do, and I don't consider myself particularly good at Sprocket. I know what I'm building is vastly improved to what I used to build, but if you look at the actual community going on in the Sprocket official Discord, there is so much really awesome stuff being built really, really quickly and really, really often, which vastly outweighs the builds that I'm doing. And if you are genuinely looking for like super detailed builds to learn from and take some inspiration from, I'd really, really highly recommend you head on into the Tank Showcase channels in that Discord and have a look at what some people are doing. Don't compare yourself against them, because ultimately there's people in there who are always going to be better than whatever you can produce, because they will have had a head start, or frankly, let's put it this way, even if what you're building is better, you're still going to think what they're building is better. That's just kind of how the human brain works sometimes. You don't value what you create as much as you value what other people create sometimes. And so don't get bogged down with what other people are building, but do use it for, inspiration and cool stuff like that, because there's a lot of really, really cool stuff going on in that Discord. In fact, this design is very, very heavily inspired, not visually inspired, but the vibes behind it were inspired by so many designs I see on that Discord where people just go crazy and they build something that's 500, 600 tons. I know there will already be hundreds of comments. Like 50% of all comments will be, this isn't even that heavy. I've built a tank that's 600 tons. I know you've built a tank that's 600 tons. This one's 180 tons, right? It doesn't need to be heavier because that's what it is. But like, there's some really, really cool builds where people basically just put massive 11-inch battleship guns on tanks and stuff. And I think it's a really big part of this game is being able to turn something that's otherwise too big to really focus in on the small details. Building a T-26, there's only really small details. It's a very small tank, so you got a lot of time to actually focus on making sure that the hatches look good, making sure the machine guns look good, things like that. You've got a tiny little tank, and don't get me wrong, some of the builds that people make are incredible, but once you get up to these like 500-ton beasts, there's so much tank going on. It's really, really easy to just end up with a very flat looking build with nothing really going on, and that's kind of how these all end up before you get to the point where they come together at the end. You end up in this place where you're like, I'm not really sure about this design. It feels a little bit empty, and it is easy to just be like, I'm gonna give up on this one. But trust me, if you just keep doing little greebles on these tanks, it's all about the greebles. They do tend to be some of the coolest designs that I see around. That is not to discredit other designs. I'm digging myself a hole here, and I really shouldn't, but there you go. I really like the big super heavy tanks. I find them really difficult to build, and I am just expressing that in a terrible format. And to those who are always asking to see where the hooks on these tanks are, hopefully I've put sufficient hookage on this tank this time. Probably not still, but there you go. There's only so many hours that I'm willing to dedicate to any of these individual builds, and sometimes the hooks get left on the wayside because I've run out of energy to keep making hook after hook after hook. I know, what if it breaks down on the battlefield? If this thing breaks down on the battlefield, it's getting abandoned. They're not going to bother digging it out. It's fine. But there you go. Right, wow, we have done a lot to this build and not really paid much attention. What you're seeing at the moment is me putting in these little pins that will attach these side track guards, whatever they're called, to the side skirts. There we go. Goodness grief, how did I forget that? To the actual tank. What I do eventually do, and the version of the tank that you'll be able to download has, is I make each of these portions. So there's 4 segments: front, 2 middle segments, and a rear segment. The cat is attacking my chair. Go away! And I eventually make those separate, so you can kind of pick and choose whether you want all the side panels off. So feel free to download this, and if you want to have a bit of fun with playing around with different setups of having and not having certain side panels on this tank, it could be pretty interesting to see what you guys can come up with that one. There's always at least one person. I think it's normally the same person, and I forget their username right now, but I'm very sorry. I will remember as soon as I see it, but they always redesign my tanks, which is really, really cool to see. And I do encourage that. If you have any ideas to make this better, then I am more than happy for you to download this, have a go at improving it, and just send me a screenshot in one of the channels in my Discord. And you can also ping me. That's fine. If I don't want to reply to your ping, I'll just ignore it. I'm fine with the odd ping or two, so long as it doesn't become excessive, which I know I shouldn't really say in a video, because that's going to start getting me mass pinged, but ultimately, I can turn notifications off if it gets too bad, so there you go. I've previously annoyed the developer of a game by replying to one of the messages that they left, which was about my YouTube channel, and they didn't take great thrill to the fact that I replied. So there you go. Sorry if you happen to be watching this video. Based on what you were saying, I strongly doubt that you are watching my video, but if you are, I do apologize. I don't mean to cause any offense, but there you go. Right, where were we? Let's put some hatches on a tank. That's next. Also, make sure that this mantler, goodness me, this it's flying by. I can't even focus on it. How do you guys put up with these videos? Goodness gracious me. Making sure that this mantlet doesn't clip into the hull when you elevate and depress the gun, because basically you've just got a little slit which the gun sticks through, and then that protects the slit from being visible, and yeah, it just is entirely external, that big block of metal. I don't know if that's necessarily how it works in real life, but that's how it works here. I didn't actually put the slit in the turret behind, I can't lie. The geometry for the front of the turret is not the cleanest, and it's not symmetrical, so it wasn't hugely easy to do, and for the sake of something that you would only ever see if you actually took the gun off the tank, I figured it wasn't really worth it. But you know, if that's something you want to do, then you can. I was really proud of this cupola, actually. This is something I normally struggle with quite a lot, is getting these cupolas to feel like one solid piece almost, and I think I did quite a good job this time. It's not obviously the most high fidelity thing in the world, but I really wanted to capture this idea of there being multiple different lenses that the commander can look out of, and then I also wanted to make this hatch separate. So you can see here I'm just connecting a little arm up to this ring that goes around the top of the cupola, and that allows it to basically pivot around that. And after I did that little maneuver there where I rotated it a little bit, you can see there, it would never quite go back in place again. So if you download this, you'll notice that hatch is like half a degree out from where it really should be, because I am terrible at this game. Spare tracks. This is something I don't do particularly often. I don't use these parts very much. I don't know why. I just don't really like how they look a lot of the time, but on the German turret, this turret in particular, it is a very, very iconic bit of design, so I decided that it was necessary for this one, just adding a couple of hooks to make it look like these tracks could fit on this thing. And if you do download the versions of this tank, there will be a clean version which doesn't have any of the side skirts and also doesn't have these the actual tracks. It has the mounting pins for the tracks, but it doesn't have the tracks itself. Now, this is where a couple of people get upset with me, because I'm using the inbuilt exhausts rather than designing my own, but I make up for it at least a little bit by making my own housing for the exhaust. I just wanted that top tube part because that's ultimately exactly what I was thinking of when I designed this in my head, and so I just designed a new shield for it and called it a day. That was me putting in a part to make sure that the flames come out of the engine when you get your engine destroyed, which is sometimes not there on some of my designs because I'll forget to do that, and people like it when they see the tanks burning. It really helps make you feel like you're actually, you know, building a proper tank rather than building a little model, which is one of the benefits of doing this in Sprocket itself rather than doing it in Blender. Is, you know, we get to have a play around with it kind of live as you're building it. That's not to say you can't get your models from Blender into the game. You absolutely can. There's tools for that, but you know, that's why I've not started using Blender. I just find it more enjoyable to use the in-game editor. Here, we're putting some internal compartmentalization in it and putting in our big old 150mm shells. These are some hefty shells, but we have so much room in this tank. It might not be immediately apparent because there's no real scale for reference at this point, but when I start putting the crew members in the turret, you get an idea of just how insanely large this tank is, and it's still quite small compared to some of the creations that people have made. We did have to do some file editing with this tank just to make sure that the gun was usable enough to the point where it would make an interesting bit of combat. But yeah, I'll have to do a little bit of a tutorial on how to file edit the most important segments at some point. Maybe a YouTube short, maybe not. Give me your opinions in the comment section below how I should do those tutorials, if I do them at all. And then our last little bit of human Tetris, and we're done. This has been one hell of a... my voice is slowly going. It's been one hell of a voiceover, and it was one hell of a build. So, hopefully you enjoyed this one, and let's go and have a look, see how this thing performs in the fields of combat, and I'll give you a spoiler right now, it's quite good. And here we have the finished product. I'm sure there is more that could be done on this thing, but I have to call it a day at some point, and I think this is a pretty acceptable point that we've gotten to. It's with all of these kind of German super heavy designs that you see at least concepts of, it's kind of flat in a lot of places, but I hope that I've done enough to make it not appear flat. It kind of gives, I think, enough of an impression that it's a real tank. So we got something going on here. Now, this thing is nearly 170 tons. It is not the heaviest tank I've ever built on the channel, but it has got some pretty beefy internals. We got a 150mm gun with 280mm of penetration. This does come with a 21-second reload, granted, which is not great, but we can't really do much about that when you're reloading a big, massive, high-velocity 150mm gun. It's got a really chunky engine. The gearbox is doing some clipping because, frankly, it has to work somehow. It is a ridiculous tank. I wanted it to perform at least somewhat in the game, so we need to go a little bit ridiculous, and that's kind of the only area I think I've really cheated. Other than that, we're pretty legit, and it's got a reasonable gun on it. We'll just put it this way. Oh man, yep, we should do all right in this thing, I think. Now, obviously, the reload is cataclysmically slow, but the tank, it's not as slow as you might think. We do have a little bit of get up and go once you really start stretching the higher gears. Almost 20 miles an hour in something that weighs 180 tons isn't exactly to be sniffed at. And for those of you who do download these tanks in the Discord server, obviously you can join the Discord server in the description below. There'll be a tank repository with the files for this, along with the thumbnail of the video that it was uploaded with. And I have included a version in there which is clean. So there's no side skirts and there's no tracks on the turret. And this saves about 20 tons. I've added these little like mounting points where you could feasibly say that the side skirts go on. This is going to be a little bit more performant, but ultimately it doesn't have the beefy side armor that the normal version has. Those side skirts actually add not just spaced armor, but they are 100mm thick. You can just see how chunky that metal plate running down the side is, and that is at an angle at the top parts. It's very well protected, this tank. I can imagine we're going to get penetrated because I'm going to have missed a spot, but I think it will be because I've missed a spot. I don't think anything's punching through these plates without me making a mistake. All that said and done, let's go see how it does in fields. Okay, we're over budget, so we only have a 150-ton budget, and therefore I think we're going to have to bring the clean version in order for this scenario to even allow us to play. So here we are in fields, and those tracks look weird. I need to improve the tension on those. Hang on. Huh. I guess we just have a wave machine on the side of the tank. Let's not think about that too much. I guess I could ramp up the tension even more, but I'm sure that's fine. So typically, I wouldn't really want to engage in a sniping match with these tigers, but I frankly think we have no problem in doing so. The only problem I can foresee me having is my aim, which is probably not going to be spectacular. There you go, that's already a miss. Come on, here we go. That might be good. I think we might have hit a trolley angle, but oh well. We're just gonna get a bit closer, because frankly, I am only human, and my aim is only so good. Oh dear. It looks like we have angered the hordes of light tanks, so hopefully we can deal with these guys without too much hassle. We do obviously have the terrible reload to contend with. Hi, buddy. That should be him dead? No way did you survive that. The sheer mass of that shell hitting your tank would give your entire crew concussions. I think he's out. They're not shooting me, which is a little bit weird. I'm pretty confident they should be able to, but I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Maybe the sheer presence of a 180-ton tank on the battlefield has terrified them beyond willingness to fight. That was painfully close. All right, come on, you can't get away that easily. That should be him. Oh, goodness. Oh, someone's actually returning fire. That's good to see. Hi, buddy. Right, I just don't want him to take out my track. That's pretty much the only part that I really worry about. But I think we're okay. I got to admit, the bravery for him to stand and fight after watching 4 of his other tanks get absolutely decimated. Yep, respectable. Okay, come on, let's see. Can we get this guy as well? I think that should be him done for. There's still one guy over there alive. I didn't even notice him. Hi, buddy. You just gonna move? I'm not so confident shooting on the move. Think about the... Oh, skimmed the paint on him. Hi, buddy. Come on. That should do him. Yeah, there we go. Job's a good one. Just the heavy tanks left. Surely we can just blast through the front of the turret of this thing, right? Yep, that looks very much like we blasted through the front of the turret of that thing. Oh, you've given me so much pain in so many different scenarios, and now I bring the pain. Hi, you. You're always the one that kills me. Get ye gone. I would feel bad. I would feel bad, if not for the fact that these guys have killed me so many times, and today they will be the ones being killed. You the last one? I can't really remember. There's no point waiting to make any theatre out of it. May as well just go for it. There we go. And no, there's one more down the hill. Hi, buddy. Yeah, you can turn, you can aim all you want. I'm not really scared of you at this point, to be entirely honest. Nice shot. Come on. I'll stay still for you. I'll give you a good chance. One more for the road? Yeah, no, okay. Oh, glorious, glorious victory. And not even breaking a sweat. That's what we like to see. The bullet holes have slightly glitched out in places, but as you can see, nothing even came close to penetrating the armor on this thing, so, on to Crossroads. Okay, never mind. It's got a 60-ton budget, and there's no cheat at the moment for us to ignore that. And we can't... We can't spawn in, so that's, let's just chalk this one down as a tie, I guess. Out of interest of fairness, I have found the blueprint for the King Tiger that's in Crossroads, and we're just going to do a custom battle. So somewhere in this field, there is a King Tiger, and obviously little old me, or, well, big old me. And well, yeah, I just want to kill it, really. So let's kill it. I'll be frank, this might not last long. There's our guy. Hello, you need to go. Right, let's just park up on this hill and go for a long-range shot, probably about here. Oh, a little bit high. Little bit high. Tell you what, he's held down pretty good there, actually. Try this. Oh, a little bit low. Not by much. Yeah, there we go. Okay, well, that was definitely Crossroads, legally speaking. On to what's next? Tiger, I think. Never mind, there's another 100-ton budget. Man, why do we even build these things? There's not much point bringing these anti-tank guns into a custom battle anyway. Defense, I guess. Really? Only 120 tons in here as well. My goodness me. I'm gonna have to have a look, see if I can increase that somehow. Okay, I've seen a few guides. I can't work it out. We're just gonna do it ourselves manually. Fingers crossed, this is pretty much what we would have had. We have quite a few more enemies, and there is only one of me. So fingers crossed we can do this, but this might be a bit challenging. That looked like a pretty bad angle to hit that guy, so we're probably not going to see him suddenly explode. We really need these guys to push up a little bit more, I think, because at the moment we're going to be fighting against our own aim pretty much, and that isn't what we want to do, because my aim sucks. Okay, first target to crest a hill, and he's doing so uniquely. I think that's a fair way to put it. That should be him dealt with. I have a feeling we're going to look a little bit like a pincushion once we're done with this. Oi, oi, no. Come back. Where are you going, sunshine? He realised his mistake, bless him. Little bit too late. I do think this is the Sprocket equivalent of bullying, if I'm being entirely honest. Oh, I'm terrible at this. Maybe here. I've forgotten where I fired the last shot, to be entirely honest. Yeah, that's way too high. That's awful. I'm just going to move on. Hello. There's a good hit on that guy. Hello, I am here. You can shoot back. I guess he's just abandoned. They've abandoned their tank. I may as well just chill here while I reload. Do you hear something going on? I don't think so. Maybe a couple of flies attacking the tank? I don't know. Ooh, that was a bit of a skim on the top there. Oh, they've taken out my tracks, but we have been classed as winning somehow. I think they've actually been classed as winning because they immobilized me. Fine, I'll let you have it. Bonk. I feel like how a tortoise does if it gets flipped onto its back, you know what I mean? It's a little bit awkward, but there's still people we can shoot. There you go. Hang on. Who over there's still alive? Stop that. Oh, hey, you're one of the heavy tanks. That's cute. Bonk. Oh, man. Yeah, not a lot was going through. We've not been able to do a lot of the battles in this game, so let's just do something a little bit silly for the end here, and I think what we should do is fight one of these against itself and see what happens. Alright, we didn't get to do a battle in Tiger, so here we are, and somewhere, it shouldn't be that hard to find, to be entirely honest, there's another one of these things, and frankly, I don't think this can penetrate itself from the front. So we're going to have to do something interesting. Look at the way that these trees just fall down when I drive into them, man. It isn't even close to stopping me. I just saw a tree fall over there, so that gives me a pretty good idea where I am, I guess. Alright, now I'm just thinking of weak spots on my own tank. And I think this plate underneath the front of the turret is pretty thin in comparison to some other areas of the tank, and maybe even the turret ring. Hello. What about under the tracks? That. Hey! There we go. I mean, it's classing me as being defeated, but something's happened in that tank. It's still alive, quite clearly. Can I go through there, maybe? I mean, that went through the... Whoa! Oh, okay, never mind. We can go through the side of this thing. I thought it was 180mm with a 100mm plate in front, so I'm surprised that'll go through, but there you go. It's in grayscale, but we've won. And I think the last thing to do here, really, before we call it a day, is to fight against the only other comparable tank that I've ever built, which is the OIRO Super Heavy tank that I built a little while ago. It's a Japanese-looking thing, and it's 230 tons, so it's 50 tons heavier than this. But I think this actually has better armor and a better gun. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this come out on top, despite the fact that it is, in weight at least, significantly lesser. And they're over there somewhere. In fact, you know what, let's just quickly pan the camera over so we can get a reminder of what this thing looks like, because honestly I've forgotten. So there it is. You can see we got the big main turret, got a couple of sponson guns, and then this turret on the front. It is a little bit... Oh, I cooked with that engine deck, Jesus. It's a little bit more primitive, should I say, of my own designs. I think I've improved, but it's still good. It still looks pretty good. And frankly, I don't think I've ever managed to kill it in any custom battles that I've spawned it in, because it is tanky as all hell. However, if anything can do it, oh, one shot straight through the front. Oh my goodness me. Okay. Well, if you enjoyed this one, please do leave a like, comment, and or subscribe. If you'd like to download this tank and kill it yourself, because I'm sure you can do so. It'll be linked in the tank repository channel in the Discord, which is linked in the description below. But that is pretty much all for today. I'm pretty proud of this one, and hopefully it stands the test of time. So we will see you in the next video, whenever that may be. Fare thee well. And as always, a huge thank you to YouTube super supporters Cody Fox, The Cheeser, Marlon Goiken, Dark Oswald Bike, Dougie Och, Doug3, Peter Holmes, Peter Seafet, Camjam135, and Terra. And a huge thank you to the regular tier supporters as well.